Hello, my name is Ken Kramer, and I'm the interviewer for the Public Library of Cincinnati in Hamilton County, the Veterans Project. And today I'm have the pleasure of interviewing Mr. William Bender. This is March 27th, 2007, the main library. Our operator today is Dennis Daly, and also present is William's wife, Mary Bender. Welcome. So, welcome to you. And
everyone calls me Bill.
Bill.
Except my mother.
Okay, Bill. Why don't you just start? This is your story, and any little details that.
Well, I've copied down a listing of things that I could talk about. That I registered at Batavia, Ohio, and became under 1A. I had a physical in 1942, and October the 1st, 1942 was inducted into the Army and transferred to the enlisted reserve. I was married at the time. I was married in 40, so and October the 21st, 1942, I was transferred to active duty. I traveled from Batavia to Cincinnati by train and by bus over to Fort Thomas.
Okay.
And after 3 days there in Fort Thomas, was assigned to the 92nd Medical Gas Treatment Battalion. And we were about 3 or 4 days there. We had men from Kentucky, West Virginia, and Ohio. All types of people, really, from coal miners to farmers to one particular person I want to mention was Jack Schuchter. He had retired from pharmacy in Mariemont. He was born October the 2nd, 1897. He died December the 9th, 1974. So he was 45 on the day he was inducted.
Wow.
He became supply sergeant, battalion supply sergeant. And
The purpose of the gas treatment unit was what?
pardon?
What was the purpose of the gas?
Oh, to treat. We were a complete battalion of 3 companies in the headquarters company, and we had a bath section that would take care of mustard gas patients that would be coming off. We would set that bath section up right in the front lines. You could jump from the front lines in to take a shower. We had a shower unit.
So in the event of a gas attack, your unit would be deployed
right there, yeah,
to the front lines or wherever it took place.
And then we had a hospital set up for phosgene. That was the only 2 gases at that time for lung irritants. And that was set up further back, more like in a back hospital. But the bath section was pretty complete. We had shower units and medical and tanks to carry water, or set up in the creek anywhere. You know, it was really and then
you were saying that yours was only one of only 2 units.
As far as I know, we traveled south. We went to October 25th to Camp Butner, North Carolina. That's outside of Durham. And my first taste of Army life on that train trip south, we got on train in Fort Thomas and backed in. I don't know if it's interesting or not, if I should.
Yes,
I keep on talking.
Yes, go ahead.
We backed into Cincinnati and finally got takeoff south. We didn't know where we were going. We were a complete battalion, and we didn't have anything to eat that night. But next morning we had stewed tomatoes and a piece of bread for breakfast. And
literally your first taste.
Yeah, and no lunch. But before we pulled into Durham, we had a big slice of cheese. And then we pulled into Camp Butner, which is outside of Durham. And there was a line of non-coms, and officers, medical officers. Oh man, you know, surprised, all lined up for us, but took good care of us, put us in barracks in barracks, you know, it was real good. And well, we were in training there. Of course, we went out on a lot of bivouacs, and of course had the usual Army training. And I kind of worked around in supplies, and finally I became staff sergeant in February 43, and staff sergeant May the 9th, 43. The original staff sergeant was Sergeant Foster. He was sent out as a cadre to the 93rd Gas Treatment Battalion. That's the only other two that only one I knew was 92nd, 93rd. And well, that was our life, I guess, in North Carolina. I never did get a furlough, but I did get a couple weekend passes. We had some bus and a train and all, make it back to Cincinnati for a weekend. I did that about 2 or 3 times, I guess, but never did have a furlough all the time I was in the Army. But then we moved from Camp Butner to Camp Miles Standish in Rhode Island. That's between Boston and Providence. And we were there for a good month, I guess, almost. But we departed December the 6th, 1943, from Boston on an English boat to Stirling Castle, which is a sister ship to the Morro Castle that was sunk off of the coast. Lost a lot of lives some years ago. And it was the first time that ship was in convoy. We were in convoy with other boats, destroyers, and a couple battle wagons on both sides. And we were 13 days. Trouble on that trip was food again. Was an English boat. And our food, the first night out, we went down to the main hall and was greeted with a boy that dipped his fingers into a 10-gallon bucket of a 10-pound can of butter, slapped it on a piece of bread, and gave it to us. And then we went in and got a stew, English stew, and potatoes. The potatoes are like cooked in seawater, real bad. But the boat was going like this, and we ate it standing up at a counter. The swill was going back and forth like that. So ate what you could, then went in to empty out your mess kit, and here was a big can of garbage there, so I just filled it up a little bit more. And that's the only time I was sick on the whole boat, the whole trip. We didn't have any. Oh, the PX had candy, but it was South African, and it was miserable chocolate, terrible. But a lot of our boys, they sit all day. We got out on the deck, we could smoke out on the deck. They'd sit there all day, and my God, Bill, I'm dying. You know, just sick as a dog. But I wasn't sick. And for breakfast, we had smoked fish, which I love myself, but you can imagine how many guys would eat half of fish for breakfast anyway.
Is that where English cuisine got its reputation?
Oh man, I don't think that was really, we had bad food, you know, because we'd been eating well at all the camps and everything, and you know, considering. That's about only had 2 meals a day, but they were pretty poor.
And you didn't know where you were headed?
Didn't know where we were going, no. But December the 19th, 1943, we arrived in Liverpool, England. And we traveled by train down to Wolverhampton, which is a city northwest of Birmingham. Pretty good sized city, I think, around 400,000 people, I think, there. And we stayed at a mansion, Whittick Hall, and the officers was in the mansion, and we were in Quonset huts they had placed out in the back, which was we were about 4 miles out of Wolverhampton. Real well, nice visit there, except you were in England, you're away from home and all that bit. But we were then out. Oh no, that was the night before Christmas Eve. Was the first night we went to town. We were pretty free to go around for a lot, but most of our men went in earlier, and I knew of the Victoria Hotel. That's the only thing I knew of about the town. So I went in. First guy I asked where the Victoria Hotel was. He stuttered and spoke Cockney, and I didn't understand a word he said. I just pointed that way. That's what it was. Anyway, a couple of nights later, we stayed at the Star and Garter Hotel, and got in about 11:30 or so, you know, and it closed up, and he came down, opened up, and we had a beautiful feather bed that night. And next morning, I don't know, 8:30 or so, he got us up. Get out, you have to get out. You know, it was the end of that deal. And plenty of beer, and only had fish and chips mostly on the street, you know. But we ate well. We had our own cooks and all in camp.
So how long were you there?
We were there until August the 24th. Well, we did get out on our company got out on a demonstration tour. Got to see Wales, down into Shakespeare Land. For 2 weeks we traveled around demonstrating our technique. By that time, I think everybody's throwing a damn gas mask away. They didn't need any gas masks. Nobody had any gas masks anymore, it seemed like. Anyway, August the 24th, we left Southampton and headed for France, and we landed on Utah Beach. Went in. Of course, there was no activity there, and then we were the only ones around. The beach was all still filled with ships that had been sunk out, and it was really a rough time there. When the boys went in on it, I don't know, but anyway, I could go through all of our tour of Europe if you want to think so.
I was wondering, the most important part of your story, though, is discovering the concentration camps.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, most of our men, officers, and doctors were transferred from our outfit to other companies to really work, because we had technicians, we had people trained in medical work, and they were really used. But I was a supply sergeant, and I was in the headquarters company, like the first sergeant and the cooks. We had a big cooks because we were able to serve a hospital, you know, but we traveled along, more or less alone. And we went through, we were in Verdun, we were in Chateau Salines, Moraines. It's November, December, January. I got a story about every place, but not really any importance. I don't think to anyone, but
Why did your unit, the battalion keeps changing locations?
we were assigned to Army. Most of the time, 3rd Army under Patton. Sometimes in the 7th Army, and just kept moving, following the line
To be closer to where the possibility of
yeah, right.
gas attack would
We only got one assignment. At Verdun, they thought they found some gas fields moved up there, but it was a false alarm. So it really never used. We had a truckload of oxygen and of course all the medical equipment with tents and all that stuff, you know. But this went all the way, and let's see, went into Battle of the Bulge when Patton was ordered north. We moved up with him to a little town in Belgium, Verton, and our men worked for the hospital there in an agricultural college, and getting patients in from Bastogne out by the truckloads. Wasn't enough ambulances, there were truckloads of,
like U.S. soldiers.
yeah. Bastogne was, of course, the battlefield that was really rough there, and see, about on the 4th of May we were in Augsburg.
Well, spend a little more time talking about the way the wounded were transported and how they were, was it in the stake body trucks or without heat?
They're Verdun, at Verton, at Belgium, that Battle of the Bulge, they were bringing them in by truckloads.
Unheated stake body, I mean,
Oh,
sides
yeah.
on them, but still.
Oh yeah, it was really cold. I had a trip from Verton there to Luxembourg in a Jeep to get ice cream for Christmas, and I had my overcoat and everything I had, I guess. But that Jeep was the coldest ride I think I ever had. Up from Verton, it was long, really snow-bound, really cold, really cold. Anyway, made it.
Transporting the wounded in those trucks, I imagine.
Yeah, it was just open trucks, well, canvas tops, you know, but it was, of course, everybody had pretty heavy clothing on at that time because that was.
Right, okay.
We had few of our men transferred from medical department to combat and lost some boys that I knew there in the Battle of the Bulge. I was really befriended a fellow that had a photograph shop in Verton. He printed some pictures and all for me, but he had buried his car. Germans had been through there the first time, a week back, and now this was the second time before they were going to come in again. He was ready to bury his car again. But they never did make it into Verton. They were stopped on the way.
So how close were you then to the actual fighting?
Never, well, one time, we were, I fell out of the truck once and got my foot in the stirrup, and I was hanging there, and they had to lift me up, and I twisted my knee, and I wasn't going to the hospital. They worked on me in the camp there, and anyway, that next couple of days we were on convoy moving up, and it got me in the back end of a truck, and medical officer was in the front, and he was feeling sick, and another guy with me we were all sick and we were sick. And we had to go down, it was on Audubon, went down over a little creek and back up on top, and here comes, we were being strafed by a little German plane. Nobody worried about their legs being bad, jumped off the bus and ran out of the field. But that was really the only time I was any close to any being shot at. I guess other times closer, but we never knew anything about it. But that was one time you could hear the bullets coming down the road, you know. It didn't hit anybody, but you moved real fast, even though you were sick. Anyway. See, that was after the war. You're talking about Dachau.
Yeah.
See, where was that? I don't know exactly the time of that. Anyway, we were in Augsburg, and Dachau was taken. Exactly. Anyway. Dachau was liberated April the 29th, 1945. I had the 157th, 222nd Infantry Regiment. Anyway, the day after that, went down by truck, 8 or 10 of us and a couple officers to check out Dachau, and that's when I had those pictures taken. And then right after that was our unit went down every day and set up hospital to treat the inmates of the Dachau. And so I was only there really that one day to take those pictures, but our outfit was there.
But I imagine what you saw that one day.
That was enough.
That had to be just horrible.
Smell was worse than anything. The people there were mostly, they didn't seem to be Jewish that time, to me. I didn't think. Of course, a lot of in concentration camp were Jewish, you know. There was a lot of gypsies, a lot of Austrians, and I don't know, all over. But anyway, they were just skin and bones, and for the most part, and very docile. And
docile or lethargic?
Yeah, right, yeah. It wasn't gonna. There's another story about another that I worked with, a boy that was in the German army that fought in the Russian front, that they didn't know anything about concentration camps at all. It seemed like it was, and the people in the town of Dachau, which was a little village, maybe 6,000-7,000, were invited over to the camp, and but they really didn't know, because it was supposed to be just a big warehouse in there, you know, for army supplies and that. Well, that's what they said. They didn't know anything about it. Anyway, that was...
The villagers claimed they didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. Of course, a lot of... We stayed a lot of times in German apartments or houses, and you know, but you always found a lot of... When I got a picture of it, a house completely filled full of flags. They said they weren't Nazi, you know, but well, what I think about Hitler, I like was good for Germany. You go from France into Germany, you clean and nice and really nice in Germany. If you wouldn't have gotten mixed up with concentration camps, I think Germany would have been a superpower. They had the equipment. They had
the
their
technology.
I was in a little town. I was in a town, Bamberg, where They were rebuilding Tiger tanks, putting a big tank on the back of them to fire, to make power for not gasoline, but
jet?
To propel the tanks, you know.
Like a jet?
Yeah, they were working, putting them on there. In fact, I got a German army rifle out of there, brand new, and had 22 barrel insert. I got both of them at home now. Use it as a target gun, you know, but that particular camp is where I got that. Anyway.
Can you talk a little bit more about your unit or the rescue of the prisoners, the inmates, and you know, what condition they were in, and how you were saying earlier they could only feed them orange juice?
Well, I didn't get there. I only saw them at that one time, but our particular unit, Company B, we had a lot of our men had gone to Fort Fitzsimmons in Denver for training and medical work, and we had, like the pharmacies, a couple of them was pharmacy. One of them was an eye doctor, and we had medical doctors. Our CO was medical doctor, and from what I understood, they were dying faster than they could get rid of them or heal them, you know, whatever happened to them. Back to this boy from Austria. He said when he was discharged up in Germany, he was the last man really to get back, but to go back home. But they'd give him a loaf of bread and a piece of ham and take off. He had to walk. So that's what I guess. I don't know whatever happened to the inmates. It wasn't that many of them, I guess, that came out alive out of the camp. But it was really miserable, hateful time to run into those concentration camps. That was the original. Dachau was the first concentration camp there was. And I don't know. For my part, I was on vacation. Of course, there's a lot of people in the Army that never saw any combat. You don't hear much about them.
And it's important that we do hear about them, because
Yeah.
you folks provided incredible service.
Yeah.
Without your support, the people in combat wouldn't do it.
I'm just thinking like to get supplies came from like Cherbourg in Germany. It's a complete line of traffic, trucks, the whole equipment, and we had a gasoline line ran from there, ran along the side of the road.
A gasoline line, a pipe?
Pipe, sure, ran along the road there in France into Germany.
Well, many armies failed or met defeat because they couldn't support. You know, they outran their.
That's what. Of course, Patton. They try to slow him down by not sending supplies, but he was a great guy, I think, a great officer. He was rough, but Army is rough.
Well, they sent him out there to do a job, and
he did it.
He did it.
We were assigned directly to him. I only saw him once. Well, he was in England. Part of our company set up his camp for him in England, but in Germany, I saw him once in his his big command car, and back following was a truck with a John on the back end of it. That was his private John. And I saw Eisenhower once. I passed Eisenhower. He was moving on a pontoon bridge across the Rhine. I was going this way, and he was coming this way. That's the only time. Or later, after the war was over, our outfit set up supply pharmacy for the Army group with Bradley, 21st Army Group, up in out of Frankfurt, in Wiesbaden. And I was down in Karlsruhe, so I had to go up to visit my men, see if they need anything up there. So I got into Wiesbaden a couple times. Wiesbaden is a tourist area of Europe, of Germany. It was really a beautiful little town. So that's how I got around. Our outfit was all split around in different runs, and I had to go see what they needed, So that's how I got to see Germany for the most part.
What's your reaction when you hear certain people try to deny the existence of the Holocaust?
Well, I can't imagine them thinking or saying anything about it. Enough pictures and all are out and around that we know that there's been a lot of play on Jewish people. Of course, there was millions of Jewish, but there was plenty of other civilians that were in concentration camps other than Jewish people. I know that for a fact. I don't know. Just a couple of years ago, I ran into a book by a Benjamin Bender that was from Poland that lost, he lost his family, and his brother was shipped down, I think in one of the concentration camps, and he's the only one that came out alive. And he wrote the book about, and they finally came back to the States here, and he's living down in Florida now, in a town where my son lives. So I got to talk to his wife. He was too ill to talk, but I talked to his wife, something about concentration camps. But it was just a book that I had seen in the library. I got it out of the library, Benjamin Bender. But I can't say anything about combat. I've seen enough of it, and even seen enough results of people being hauled and being killed dead on the side of the road and being picked up at that time. I've seen a lot of that.
Were some of those images difficult to get out of your mind?
No, not anymore. I've resigned myself to it. No, it never did bother me too much, really. No, I don't know. I guess a lot of folks would keep. Well, I can still see Dachau. I can see that real well. I can see quite a few places that where our men were killed or blamed and being picked up, then I guess that's about all I have.
Anything about the supply operation that, in general, that you want to mention we haven't covered? Because it is so important.
Yeah, well, we had, of course, food, our cooks took care of the food situation.
I'm sure they improved on...
They'd go every day and pick up rations for the day, you know. And of course we had, our particular headquarters had 15 or 20 men there. I guess we ate real well because the cooks were took it for themselves, you know, and they pick up more food. You could, they'd say more people than what had get more food than what they really needed, you know. We lived real high, wide, and handsome.
Those are some of the secrets that are finally coming out.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of one town, that was a town that was right on the border of Germany and France. Germans, originally it was French, and then the Germans moved in, and then we were coming, and Germans moved out, so there was nobody in the town. We were in a bank building, and it was Thanksgiving, and a couple of our guys found glass in a hardware store, and we put glass in the windows. Man, we were really living high, wide, and handsome there. And across the street, they blew a safe our windows all went out. But that was Thanksgiving. The cooks at that time got a whole bunch of turkeys that we had for dinner that night. It was a good Thanksgiving at one time. Kind of remember a lot of Thanksgivings. Seemed like Thanksgiving in Providence, Rhode Island, and Thanksgiving there, and more so than Christmases.
Yeah, you were gone a long time.
Yeah, well, I was overseas 4 days, less than 2 years.
Wow.
Count from the day you leave the port.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the, disengagement or the end, or.
Well, then after I left November I went from to a clearing company. Well, after we were ready to come home, our outfit was being disbanded, and I was transferred to a clearing company, and from there to I think it was a Fifth back in Malbronn, Germany, and that's when I really got into a lot of work. I was a supply sergeant. I was transferred, and all was there was a full colonel. He was a doctor in the First World War, and he was a doctor in the Army, American Army, and a warrant officer, and they were shipping men in, and VAC hospital calls for 2 or 3 supply, the big operation. Anyway, I was the goat, and had to get new clothing for all the guys ready to leave Germany, and finally departed. They went down by train to Marseille. A couple of us went on by truck. Anyway, by the time we got down to Marseille, nobody had any clothing. Sold it all on the way. They'd sell his shoes, they'd sell his uniform, and everything. So I had to go into Marseille and get clothing, and it's all over. Everybody could get new clothing. It was pretty cool, but I worked harder there that couple of weeks than any time. Really suffered. But we were 13 days going over, and we were 19 days coming back on an American boat. And about halfway back, we ran into a bad storm, had to turn around. That's why we're 19 days coming back. Come into New York, and I was discharged from Indiantown, yeah, Pennsylvania. Got home, and well, the company, I don't know if you want to know about the company I worked for and all that, what happened to me afterwards.
Yeah.
I worked for this New York company, A.J. Engel. The chief officer was Fairfax A. Riley. He really sent us a package every Christmas, bonuses, really sent a personal letter to us every year. Anyway, got home and had a chance of being transferred. I could go to Seattle, Washington, or St. Paul, where they had 21 stores in the country. There's 2 openings there, so I decided we'd go to St. Paul. And we were up there in a department store for, well, our daughter Connie was born up there, and she just retired. So she was 60, that was 60 years ago. Man. Yeah.
Time flies when you're
2 years, and we decided that was a home was here, her family, my family, everybody was home. My sister was ill, so we decided to come back.
How many kids did you and Mary eventually have?
Pardon?
How many children did you?
Oh, it was just Connie was born, and son Dale. Connie was never married. Dale lives in Florida. He was born here, and he was married and got 3 children, and we just had a great grandchild born.
Well, congratulations.
February the 14th. Little gal.
Wow, that's a great story.
It's not, I don't think, too interesting to anyone really that would be expecting some combat or something like that. But
it was very interesting to me, and I particularly appreciate the unique contribution that every one of you made.
Yeah.
It was important for the overall operation. I really want to thank you for coming today, but special thanks for your willingness to serve the country as you did.
Well, yeah, really, I thought it should be known that I've never been able to find out whatever happened to, you don't read of anything about the gas treatment battalion in the Army now. Of course, at that time we only had those 2 gases. Now we got plenty of trouble now.
Sure do.
But we couldn't. All we could treat was lung irritants. We had truckload of gas oxygen.
Right.
And but I don't know who would. Guess hospitals will take care of the people now. I don't know what you're going to do.
Well, again, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Mary, for coming down. And